Don?
Does it say that? Yep, the meeting is being recorded. Michael, are you all set?
Are you ready, Michael? Okay, good.
You're rolling.
All right, welcome everybody. Hi, my name is Walter Meyer. I'm a professor of art history here at Santa Monica College, and I also chair the art department and have the privilege of sitting in the middle and trying to coordinate some interesting Zoom technology as we do our own little telepresence. I want to first thank Michael Masucci, Joan Collins, Victor Acevedo for organizing this amazing exhibition. So we're in the Barret Gallery of SMC, where we have an incredible 40-year retrospective of all kinds of collaborations and digital works connecting EZTV and LA-SIGGRAPH. So this is super exciting that we get to have this exhibition this summer, and really grateful for the City of Santa Monica, Cultural Affairs, and the Art of Recovery grant, which has funded this incredible panel about the history of telepresence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the organizer of this panel, Anastasia.
Hey, hi.
Can everyone on Zoom hear me well?
It seems like you're not next to the mic.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
put that.
Just let's make sure. So now it's good?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So again, hello everyone. My name is Anastasia. I'm a historian of art, science, and technology. Today I would like to introduce you to a relatively oblique topic, but perhaps relevant within the context of where we are today with technology and culture developments and the place we're at. And we're actually just about a mile away from the historic location of Electronic Cafe International that Kid Galloway, who is with us for the panel, and Sharon Benovitz funded. It was located historically at the 18th Street Art Center next to EZTV, which is a place that Michael still kind of maintains in its existence. Yeah, so it was funded by telecommunication art pioneers, Kid and Sherry, and in the mid-80s. And it lasted for about 2000. The Electronic Cafe began a nurturing ground for telematic performances, which are not limited to teleimprovisation. Unlike the previous experiments in telecommunication art, some of which took place at CalArts in the early 70s when it was just founded, what took place at Electronic Cafe International, or ECI, included a video component. And to my knowledge, that was the earliest prototype of the kind of tele-performance, tele-improvisation that we can have today using the contemporary technology by means of Zoom or other telecommunication platforms. And before I will forget to say, and maybe Kit will have a book or book cover for us, just a few days ago, MIT published now a second book about Electronic Cafe International. So maybe later I will share the link so you could check it. It's available for free. Yes, here it is. Yeah, now perhaps a few words about another abbreviation, CEAIT, which stands for the Center for Experiments in Art and Information Technology, which is founded at CalArts in 1990 and lasted till later 90s, but then it kind of traversed to a festival that was running for many more years to come. And the Center for Experiments in Art and Information Technology, as you can see from abbreviation, it kind of reminds the EAT, Experiments in Art and Technology, founded by Billy Clouvier in 1960s. So there is a kind of connotation to it, like it kind of symbolizes this rise of enthusiasm about the art and technology and access in the 90s within this kind of milieu of the cyber culture movement and cyber arts conferences. And the CEAIT, to give an analogy, I would say that some of inspiration for it came from MIT Media Lab, but unlike at MIT, at CalArts, there was a performance art scene, so this new technology could be tested by artists themselves rather than in an artificial setting of like a laboratory. So yeah, today we will look back at that history 30 years from now. I wasn't around yet. Starting with a screening of the video, courtesy of Keith Galloway and Jane Youngblood. What we're about to see is an assortment of performances that took place at ECI in the early 90s, including but not only presentations given by CEAIT members, interviews of Kit and Sherry, and more. This will last about 40 minutes. Then we will have a panel discussion with Becky Allen, Hunter Oakes, Keith Galloway, and Tom Erb. Hunter is with us in person. I will make sure we turn the screen to see him. And yeah, the other panelists are with us telematically, shall I say. We will finish with the Q&A, but you're welcome to jump in with questions during the discussion, but probably it's better to leave the longer questions for the end. And without further ado, let's get started.
Okay, so I'm going to share screen, and we're going to be playing a video. Unfortunately, the sound isn't coming through great over the internet, so we're going to post. Did you put the Zoom link or the YouTube link, which is in the chat?
So that's what they're saying. You want to play it for us too?
Yeah, the sounds, maybe we don't need the sound. There's no sound here anyway.
Yeah, it'll come
Later.
Yeah.
Oh, we live there. Upstairs, up there. Wiki D. Anybody know Wiki D?
do.
That was a slice of life.
Me 30 years ago.
I think this one is the MLS, mint out sound.
As video phones that we sent all over the world. We found a stash of 60 of them and we just mailed them out to people. First couple of years was just phone lines, so we just used the still image video phones. But by the early 90s, we had full motion color video. We're connecting with Elmarca Basis, this first.
Commons and new commons. And it's a place for a good cup of coffee and to meet people locally at a human scale, as well as have electronic meetings and meet people in different parts of the world and sit down in a non-intimidating, relaxed atmosphere and have creative conversations and exchanges rather than straight tie electronic meetings.
It's basically the place for the 90s. You know, we say in the 80s we got to see each other. We got to see Tiananmen Square. We got to see the wall coming down. And in the 90s we want to talk with each other. So it's a place where we can go and meet our friends locally, and make new friends across distance. And that's what has to happen. Where are you from? Nicaragua. We're here in Los Angeles. You got your video phone, huh? Okay. Great. We got it. Yeah, we sure can. Can you hear us?
Okay, we're so glad we've been able to connect. Send us a picture. Come on, show us this is New Jersey.
Anastasia, what year was this?
Well, I came here because I heard also that they were connecting with Nicaragua and possibly we're going to be speaking with Elmarca Basis. I just want to tell him, that I read his book and how incredible, all the things he did for the revolution. I mean, those images of him being in the jungle with, mosquitoes and mud and being, and lasting like that for days and days, and being in a little village house with bullets, strafing them, and somehow, and being like 15 or 16 people, and they made the Sandinista revolution, and it was just quite a triumph.
Recently elected to the National Assembly as a representative. In relation to the political situation in the country, unfortunately, even though we had our triumph, our revolutionary triumph in 1971, the government of the United States at the time was looking at the world in black and white terms. That's to say that the United States divided the world essentially into communism and capitalism. And President Reagan, perhaps because of his age, couldn't understand what the world was, and was just divided into black and white. So that's to say that in years, because of the war imposed by Reagan, we lost through wounded and death 50,000 Nicaraguan citizens.
That guy flew in from Nicaragua that day.
Basically, it's a populist sort of thing. It's one-to-one. It's not having stuff filtered through other people. It's direct. It's something that theoretically, when it goes, it develops further and further, it gets down to man or woman on the street dealing one-on-one with each other, as opposed to bigwigs and higher offices who can use this technology and do all the time.
People walk in here, this class, we're using satellites, but basically to connect with the Soviet Union, or to connect with Tokyo or Berlin, it's the cost of a phone call.
It's brought down. It is, yeah.
Я считаю, то, что делают Кит Галловей и Шерри Рабинович, это необыкновенно важно.
It means that the thing that Keith Galloway and Sherry Rabinovich are doing is very important, extremely
Это
important.
непосредственное, неформальное
It's informal
общение
immediate talk with the independent people.
И я думаю, что будущее и за телевидением, и, конечно, несомненно, за тем, что делают вот здесь, в электронном
So he thinks that the future is behind both TV and the things that right now initiated being born here in Electronic Cafe, new form of human relationship.
We're trying to develop a culture around it. So these you can get for like $250. And so they're like training wheel systems. For us, we can launch an electronic cafe in Gambia with a $250 video phone and a Mr. Coffee. That's the $500 system, okay? We can take it up to $35,000 or $85,000 with all the bells and whistles. But these video phones, good phones, are bringing the kind of excitement, dynamic electronic meetings or migrating to electronic space at a global scale, the same kind of excitement that the black and white Sony Portapat brought to independent television production in the late 60s.
Coming up next, we have a video cloning from the Electronic Cafe International from Santa Monica, California. Let's do it.
There it is. Next.
It is amazing how quickly we become desensitized to those disappearing faces. It is amazing how quickly we lose the name. It is amazing that they disappear guilty, blamed for a disease that has no cure. And we remember those names, those faces. And we know the ones who are to blame. We do the names. And we know the schemes and dreams and the plots and the subplots that they conspire against us. And we know we are the children of Shem. We know we are the children to blame. And when we believe in the whispers of those who disappeared into the alleyways of America and never heard from again, we believe the whispers, the haunted memories. We remember them as ancestors. We remember there is no more time. We remember that we need revolution. And by the time we count to 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Originally, the images were better than what we're seeing now. Oh, Rachel.
I continue on. I am angry at your manipulating the show. You denude me. Turn my nurture into heredity. You plunder. You excavate. You noose my locked-up carbons into the very meaning and condition of your existence, the air you breathe, finely tuned and calibrated by me and mine. You tamper with those who would keep it thus. My force.
It was being translated in Russian at the same time, kind of messy.
Todo muy bien. Podemos poner a Alan. Alan, queremos hacer una pregunta. Are there some questions you guys would like to ask Alan? If now that we have open lines and you're not paying it, why don't you come up and say here? The only question that I have for you is the fact that Nicaraguans are trying to express themselves in a more individual way rather than with the government. Doesn't that imply that
Too bad, this is beautiful music. We did lots of kids' days. There you are, Don, in Atlanta. Can I be heard? I guess we're all muted, right?
We hear you.
Mark came to the cafe and liked what he saw and came back and I think this was done between highways, the place next door to us and in our place. But so Don was working with us for a couple of years before Morton Company came in. So Mark gifted us with MIDI phone and interactor. So MIDI and audio could go over two modems, increase the audio fidelity from that of a telephone. It's not bad video, it's an accordion shade that would pull down. It's got those zigzags on it, because it folds up. I guess that was the only thing we had at the time. When we got the Mac 2, so I think this is some of Sherry's art that she made. Mark rigged up something for her that, so the still image video phone, she and her movements determined when the image was captured wirelessly and transmitted.
This is the Electronic Cafe in Santa Monica. Tonight we came here for a teleconference with computer hackers meeting in San Francisco. Earlier, we received an anonymous telephone tip from a hacker that the Friday the 13th virus comes from a group called Cortex. The members of Cortex are based in the Netherlands and they reportedly have something against IBM. They aimed the virus at IBM software. We talked with Alan Lundell, who wrote a book about computer viruses.
Well, the beauty of the virus is for that, in that arena, that it's the ultimate revolutionary weapon in the sense that it can be designed in someone's living room, someone's house, and the safety of that, and then dropped into position with very...
Video calibration, I guess so. These images are being projected from an optical disc, and she's controlling it with the audio that's coming to us. It's triggering the playback of the optical disc. It's kind of a socket. No audio. It was audio. Warning. Honey. Niece. Geek. Playing the disco beer back there from Nice. hearing what I'm hearing?
Yes.
It's pretty broken up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a train wreck. It's nobody's fault. I don't know what's happening, but this is the avant-garde version.
We have a comment in the chat that says you need to turn on the audio for musicians option in Zoom, otherwise the noise cancellation algorithm will mute the music. I don't know if we have that, if we have a lot more music in the video, but maybe that's worth doing.
Oh boy.
I already assessed that.
You say that my speakers here are feeding back through my and screwing it up? Is that what you're saying?
No. You do that, you stop all sound. I know you're trying to.
Okay.
You're creating a second sound system.
What about pausing the video and starting it up again? I mean, not from the beginning, but just maybe it'll come back together. I don't know what's happening here.
Sir, I don't know. You need to turn that speaker on. I know you're trying to help the audience, but you're making this harder for them.
Your sound just sounds like
This is brain.
I can see you. I can see you just by looking at your eyes. I'm beginning to get a feel for your brain, and I'm beginning to get a sense of how my brain will communicate with your brain and the music that we can make together. Our virtual relationship and the reality of the beautiful conversation that's about to ensue.
Yes, yeah. Can you hear from us? Can you hear that we're hearing him? So there's a request from the live audience that we love the commentary. So if you want to voice over commentary while we watch and listen, that'd be amazing. Giving us context.
Okay, when I muted, it seems like the audio came back fine, so I might be the culprit here. So I'll mute that the audio comes through, and I'll comment
We hear you.
when needed. I'm muting now. I forget the artist who did this. Those drums and instrument things, when she touches them, they play, which we don't hear.
So this is like augmented reality?
Whoa. There's nothing.
I mean, she's touching this not actual stuff. And it plays
She's looking at stuff and then she's reaching out to her. She thinks that is, she was excited.
Yeah.
She's not the augmented reality. We wouldn't call that.
I think that's it with the screening part.
Thank you.
And now we can shift to the discussion. Oops. Too tough. Can we switch some
Yep.
contact with the scene? Oh,
I'll
perfect.
actually review.
No, I'm okay. Is it good? Okay. Yeah, so how was it? So today, again, reminding we have with us Becky Allen, Keith Galloway, Tom Erb, and Hunter Oaks. And all of them have their own histories with what's related to CEAIT And perhaps we can start with just each of them telling about the impact that the performances at Electronic Cafe International and the interaction with CEAIT members, the time at CalArts and so forth, how it was of impact on each of you. Maybe we can start with Hunter, since he is here with us.
Sure. I'll go after saying that, man, it didn't seem that long ago, but it sure looks like a long time ago. I mean, I think what struck me is, and a little background, I came to CalArts in '93 from Germany. I had studied music in Cologne and had some connections to College Stockhausen, which I'm saying not to name put off, but just to draw one difference that I think is, even looking at that stuff, so stark, was just, it was experimental. Like, we really, I don't remember much discussion of, by Moore, to anybody who put on the, oh, I should also say I was the producer of the 1994 teleconcert, so I worked as Mart's assistant, and so I, you know, I brought my notes with block diagrams and budgets and stuff, so if anybody wants to see, you could look at that. But I don't remember in all of these discussions with Mort that there was a lot of discussion about what he was trying to achieve. Was he trying to send a message? Was he trying to figure something out? It was just, we're putting on this thing and we're going to see what happens. I mean, maybe.
That's a little bit of a presentation.
I have no idea where that's coming from.
I thought it was a nice intermission.
I don't know where that's coming from. Does anybody know?
Should I keep
For
going?
today's grim adventure, we find ourselves.
Oh, I know it's happening. It's like so funny trying to work backwards.
Oh, the next YouTube thing. Oh, should I keep going, or are we?
Yeah.
Are we still? Okay. So I'll let me.
Wait, just one second.
Okay.
Now, there we go.
Okay, so the thing that struck me, like back in Cologne, like, I mean, Stockhausen would tell you before you ever hear a note what you were supposed to make of it, what it was going to mean, what you were going to hear, and sometimes we would look at you like, yeah, I'm not really hearing that. And I just think here it was nothing like that. It was really just putting on this thing and we'll see what happens. I don't remember, and maybe some people on the panel here should correct me if, I mean, I was also really young and maybe I missed it, but I don't remember any kind of debriefing on did we achieve our goals or anything. We were just putting on these things and playing around with it. So that to me struck me and comes through, I think, in those videos too.
Yeah. Someone to follow up?
Yes, we're smiling.
Hello?
Hi, Tom.
Hi, how are things going?
Yeah, would you like to add something?
I got in here a little late, so I'm a little hesitant. I saw somebody trying to play virtual drums, and only a little bit of the audio was coming through. But it reminded me of a game that I worked on where we had the players playing drums, and they had to play somewhat accurately in order to get to the next level. I worked at Sega, so there was a musical game that we worked on, and there was an animated character that would play drums around you, and you use the controller to play the drums. But I was reminded of that. But yeah, it does look like early on experiments with, bridging the virtual and real realms. Early efforts, I guess. So.
Yeah, thank you for this addition. Yeah, as a side note, quite a few of the music students in the early 90s at CalArts went not to become the professors, I guess, as is expected, but went to the industry, to the game industry specifically, and I guess the cohort of Becky is specifically. So maybe Maybe you could tell us more about your experience with CalArts and also your experience with like doing performances at Electronic Cafe International. There were quite a few.
Yeah. Well, I started in '89 there through '92, so I was Mort's TA and then became his assistant. And it was the beginnings of the Center for Experiments and CEAIT, too long. It was the very beginning, nascent stages, and seeing its birth and where it went was very interesting. But I do think to kind of lean into this idea of experimental, because it wasn't with I never got there's a goal. I thought it was just, where is the technology now? And where can we press it? What can we do? What can we do? Like this curiosity of, oh, we can send MIDI through this thing and we're gonna be able to do that. Oh, we can, how can we use what we have at the moment to push the boundaries of technology? And I thought that was amazing. I was there for, I think, a year and a half with at the Electronic Cafe. I remember certain performances there. And remember, this is a pre-World Wide Web, okay? Think about that. This is pre-cell phone. We don't have cell phones. So when we're talking about things being on a phone line, it's so different from where we are now. So 30 years ago to where we are now, when you look at that kind of history, it's ginormous leap in terms of technology and what we can share and what we can do with, just even having this conference where many of us are online. See, this is an evolution of the work that Kit and Jerry were doing. So it's quite amazing to see how far we've come. And I think, I went into the video game industry. I also continued to work with artists and did my own music. I've always been interested in technology and sound and music. And so it just, that kind of curiosity of where is the technology right now, what can we do with it, and where can we take it, is something that I've taken into my whole career. That stayed with me from that time. So I thank you, Mort.
Mort is known, Mort and Subotnik was known for having many students, assistants, but I mean, that's not just for the sake of cheap labor force, but it also permits to kind of have an impact and to have a meaningful mentoring relationship. So I think it worked well as kind of a way of knowledge transmission. Tom, could you tell a little bit about you coming to CalArts and the events at ECI that you participated in and helped organize? As far as I remember, you helped to facilitate the teleconcert of '94 that Hunter has just referred to.
Now we have 3 Toms here, so I think you're talking about me?
Yes.
Okay. So I came to CalArts the same time Hunter did, but as a faculty member. I'd just been at Mills College the 6 years before that in the experimental music area. And I came down to CalArts to run the studios and teach classes in technology. And when I got there, well, shortly after I got there in the fall of '93, we had the winter of '94, the Northridge earthquake, which just destroyed CalArts. So my job wasn't so involved in the Electronic Cafe, but my job became, let's get CalArts working again, and at the same time, let's keep the students interested. So fortunately, so many of my students were able to go down to the Electronic Cafe and work on, like Hunter and others, and work on these events. I was there as a sort of backup tech, but really what I'm really fortunate for is just how many people were inspired by that place, and it sort of helped CalArts survive, and that it was an interesting place to do things while CalArts was stuck teaching out of storefronts, synagogues, and old military complexes for a year. Now, after that, when we came around to going back into the building at CalArts around '95, we're faced with this interesting juncture in technology. Suddenly computers were fast enough to generate sound and do video. Suddenly everyone has Mosaic and everyone's making web pages. We have a very primitive broadcast capability via the network. I think, things, I don't know what was first, maybe See You, See Me or something like that. But at that point, after this experience at the Electronic Cafe, this is from my students' point of view, they were all grappling with all this new technology and the telepresence moving into net presence. And so the students that came out of there really were on fire. I mean, I can cite like Amy Alexander doing early net art with her multicultural recycler. She's now faculty at Viz Arts at UCSD. I could say Mark Allen, who opened up Machine Project, another great space in LA. I mean, I'm sure he's totally inspired by Electronic Cafe of what you can do if you just want to do something in the arts on a shoestring and just with, willingness of, like-minded individuals. And finally, when we got back in the building, we started the CEAIT Festival, which ran for many years, and the idea there was to bring in artists from around the world, but also have the students of CalArts put on their best pieces and do concerts along with, international artists, all curated by the students. So this was really inspired by that sort of communal energy, the idea that we can put it together, and it prepared a lot of students to go out and create their own art scenes. And I could talk about many people, but I'm sure more people have something to say.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Thank you. Tom just referred to the Northridge earthquake of '94, and as I remember, you and Sherry taught a course or a couple of courses to the CalArts students. Could you, if you remember anything about it, could you tell more about that?
Yeah, well, we had students coming down from CalArts, and they were doing really interesting work. And then the Northridge earthquake happened and took down the freeways, and they would have to drive an extra 25, 30 miles to get to it, so we had to close it down.
Wait, did we close it down? No, kid, we continued coming down. It was a terrifying drive. I think we went for quite a while, didn't we? Do I remember that wrong?
Not so much, no. But that's how it ended. The earthquake just kind of, nobody could get to us.
Okay, I thought for a while we still would.
Now, maybe some, okay, it could have been this. Everybody drove those extra 40 miles, and then they got tired of it, so we quit because it was, too much of a drive to get around the earthquake damage.
We went from
No, CalArts was trash. Didn't hear that.
Yeah, it was the old route.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Hunter, do you have some historical documentation for the course that was taught at ECI or something related?
Oh, right. I have that. It's actually funny that the folder I have CalArts at Lockheed. That's what Tom was referring to. Right? The music school was in the military facility there, and when we came in, there were all these binders that they had left behind. That's actually one of the binders, which had a stealth bomber cover on it. It was just the weirdest scene. I think the one thing that I just see here is when Mort in August writes me an email about the first telecommunication concert that he has an idea about. The following is a rough draft of my ideas and I think it sort of answers my question a little bit. What concepts were there that he was trying to explore, right? And Mort, this is the focus to inform ourselves and a relevant community of the imminent potential impact of telecommunications on the future of the distribution of the arts. The emphasis will be on music, but the other arts will be included. And so I guess there is a statement, but it's also pretty open, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's pathetic, anyway.
Yeah.
I would like to just ask you more and have offer the audience the opportunity to hear about your experience of using the new performance technology. So Don has just left, but Don Stapiello and Mark Coniglio, they are known as a duo, Troika Range, and you could see Don in the video doing the dance with the early MIDI suit, and the process itself came with like quite a few challenges, but they succeeded to find the creative solutions to like the issues of delay, just the fact that performers were not present in the same space. So could each of you tell more about your use back in like the 90s of the new performance technology? It may be anything from like the devices as the Media Globe that we are often referred to in our discussions to like the experience of arranging and making the teleperformances, the early teleperformances happen. And as I have this vivid image of Becky performing electric harp in mind, Becky, could you give it a start?
Sure. During this period of time, yes, we had a lot of, because, I mean, there was MIDI, and we were using MIDI in different ways. I can't recall who brought the MIDI harp, but I can't see the image, but there was a MIDI harp. It was quite beautiful, and so I was just asked to sort of showcase how to use it. Anyone really could use it. And so I think I might have done it at CalArts and maybe at the Electronic Cafe as well. So there was a lot of influx of new tools, new ways of approaching music with technology. MIDI harp was one. Another one that I recall coming through during my time was MIDI glove, which Todd Mackover brought from MIT, and Mort was showing that in the video. When it was hard to hear all the different things, but you could play groups of notes, you could play individual notes, but it was pretty cool to see how that could be used as a controller from distance. So these are all kind of new ideas during the time that we were all becoming aware of and trying, and then many of us incorporating those kinds of ideas into our own music. So those are a couple.
So in '94, you're the main person, I would say, in charge of the teleconcert. Could you share like about the challenges and the creative solutions that you found to make this 3 sites experience happen?
Yeah, I was just sort of Mort's assistant, so I don't know that I was how I went through those, but I was sending his emails and coordinating, making block diagrams. I think mostly I remember running the events, and also how precarious everything was. I mean, the MIDI phone lines went down all the time. I think you saw it a little bit in this video, also in other screenings that he had made, where I think there was a lot of sitting around for the audience, waiting for things to sort of go back to working, and that also, in hindsight, I think everybody was more okay with that than today, with the attention span that we have today. I think it would feel very different to do these things. I think that, they were long events. I don't know how long that actual concert was, but I'm going to guess it was a 4 or 5 hour kind of thing, or
Yeah, and one of the challenges, maybe Kit could tell more about it, is so the teleconcert I'm referring to, the '94 teleconcert, the first major one that included 3 sites. Santa Monica Electronic Cafe International connected with the kitchen in New York, and also the studio in Santa Fe. If I remember correctly, Stena Bazooka was performing her MIDI violin in Santa Fe that was transmitted to Electronic Cafe International, and then in New York, there was a performance like with just claviers with two piano players kind of controlling the piano on the other coast. And yeah, so because there was an obvious difference of time between the East and the West Coast, yes, J.B. Floyd and David Rosenberg are playing Is Art Is, if I'm not mistaken, the piece. So yeah, it probably took quite a bit of coordination to put people together who were in different zones, and without this handy technology as we have now, when we can set up the time in advance, perhaps that was more challenging and maybe like take thousands of hours to.
I think the other thing is, I think we've set up on the day of, like we didn't have a separate day to actually try these things, and I think one of the reasons, Kit, you should tell me, I think the stuff was expensive to have these phone lines open, I mean these ISDN lines open, like that was not something we could afford to do for one day. Is that true, Kit?
Yeah, actually what Mort was paying us really didn't cover the phone lines or the analog phone line charges and stuff like that. But, you know, in 1984, we created the first electronic cafe network in Los Angeles between different language-speaking communities, and we had an audio conferencing system, so two cafes could talk to each other, or everybody could join in, and people tried to play music. Well, they did play music. The acoustics, of course, on the dial-up telephone line is not so swell. But they figured out what instruments sounded better on a phone line than others. And but we were doing collaborative music in 1984. And so we were a telecollaboratory, you know. It was like we were on the bleeding edge, and you know, things would fall apart. And Mark's setup were sometimes took a couple of days. And the first 2 years were great, but then eventually it was costing us and taking up space and other things that we were into VR. I built a massive virtual reality world, and we had our around the world New Year's Eve celebration things, and which we did the last one, transition from 1999 to 2000. That was the last one, and Sherry's MS was getting pretty bad, so we closed it, shut it down. But tons of absolutely amazing stuff. And we would do things like, anybody remember who Captain Crunch was? John Draper? Well, we gave him one of the black and white video phones, and he went over to Moscow when the wall was going to come down the next day. Everybody knew it. He got a good hotel room because people were leaving town, and he was sending us, you know, transmissions as the wall was being taken down. And there's, and in, what was the earthquake in San Francisco and Palo Alto area? That was a biggie. And we had friends up there that had the video phones, and so we called them up and we said, give us as much phone line you can and run it out to the curb and open an automobile hood. Those video phones ran off a 12-volt transformer, so they could hook up the video phone to a car battery, and we were sending them transmissions from LA television, and whole gobs of people gathered around to get the news that they weren't able to get. There was radio, but so all kinds of things happened. But so the way it ended was that we were getting so busy doing stuff that we just had to say goodbye, and then they weren't doing telecollaboration anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Kid is referring to like the end of collaboration between the CEAIT and ECI, but at the same time that was a start for like another performance thing, which was the CEAIT festival that kind of continued or like took over the concepts of the teleconcerts, because in '96, when the last of 3 major teleconcerts took place, and it lasted like for 3 days, Morton made all those claims about the further expansion, and then kind of nothing followed for the reasons that are still oblique to me, but nevertheless, Clay Chaplin started the next year with the funds coming from CEAIT, the CEAIT festival, and the festival kind of continued this way and kind of put CalArts on the map largely of this experimental scene, and that became a point of attraction for many experimental folks. And in 2000s, like Pamela Z and other renowned experimental musicians were coming in for what started as a kind of a showcase opportunity for the music students. And Tom, since you had a major role in that, could you just share more of your reminiscence or any anecdotes related to the CEAIT festival?
Okay, I mean, at this point, when we had access to the internet, there was a lot of work in developing software and taking advantage of software and trying to do these things on the network. But it took a while before we had reliable audio and reliable video, and the commercial ventures got there before us. But we wanted something where we could do music with low latency. So eventually, there was some sound software out of Stanford that seemed pretty reliable. And for me, it wasn't until I got to UCSD, which was about 2004, that we could really do these kind of concerts. And then we started doing multi-site concerts, just inspired by the work in the 90s with people like Pauline Oliveris and Mark Dresser. And we would have multiple ensembles at different locations. And the difficulty there now became a way of how to coordinate people musically that are separated. With latency or with less latency, it was difficult. And we finally found that it needed a large technical contingent at both sides who were making sure things were going to work without bothering the musicians, because the musicians had enough to focus on. And then we had to have conductors on either side who could communicate with each other and work out the synchronization of these two ensembles. So things kept on going, but things moved elsewhere. I mean, telepresence just moved to, it became available, it became affordable, and now it became something which is just a tool, or rather an opportunity for musicians to take care of, artists to take, to use and make pieces around. But yeah, with the CEAIT Festival, we broadcast all of those on live video over the network, but it was nothing like the Electronic Cafe. It was nothing like that experimental place, of Johnson.
In '93, Viacom put T1 lines into our place, and they bought all of their equipment, and full motion video conferencing, and there wasn't much lag in that. And we did a thing with them that was very, very Morton Don performed in it, but they kept bringing in the MTV dancers and stuff like that. So But the industry was just coming to us and giving the stuff and saying, show us what you can do with this. And so we weren't writing grants anymore. And things get, things are moving along pretty good at Electronic Cafe in the last few years.
Yeah. So I guess the final, we're running to the final question, which is, I guess I need to again kind of give a bit of a context to that. So with the pandemics especially, we had this massive transition to the telecommunication technology, which included video components, Zoom, and so forth. And many artists got to practice like dance and music making and so forth remotely using Zoom or other video conferencing platforms. But seemingly there wasn't much reflection on this transition. We just kind of share the sense that what we do remotely is kind of not as authentic or doesn't feel true as let's say playing together, jamming in the same room. So it feels like a kind of an alternative option, the doing things remotely, kind of deficient compared to the in-person analog one. But can we think of the advantages that it gives and relying on the early experience of tele-performance of the 90s and later on? Is there something that you would say younger generation shall be aware of? Is there something that they could learn from that history of teleperformance at ECI with other CEAIT members? Some kind of creative treatments and creative solutions of the technical problems, or some approaches to interaction with one another, and not just using the technology in a straightforward way, but trying to take advantage and do the things that we couldn't do like in person. For example, with like the image overlay and so forth. So well, I hope the question makes sense. And yeah, why this history is worth to be remembered and captured, and what we can what is worth to pass on. Any one of you would like to start? Tom?
Yeah, I could briefly say something. I think the biggest impression I had at the Electronic Cafe, at least the concert that made the biggest impression on me, was one where Alvin Lucier was doing music for solo performer, where he has his brainwaves measured, and he was at a remote location, and then there are percussion instruments hung all the way around the Electronic Cafe. And while you're watching Alvin on the video screen, just be meditating with his eyes shut, just thinking, you started hearing this percussion all around you, and it became very apparent what was happening, and we felt this sort of traveling over time and space that, in this very intimate connection with Alvin that did not seem inauthentic. It seemed very authentic, and we were brought very close to Alvin in multiple ways. And I think that's, it was this beautiful piece of art that came out of just the telepresence. I think what I would say for artists today is to just, whatever the technology, whatever the media, you think about things artistically, and you think of things as an opportunity to make some new, interesting situation and a new type of communication between the artist and the audience, or between two artists. So, I mean, yes, technology, when it's new, it's very exciting, and often you make pieces that showcase that. But soon you find that there's things about the way the communication is mediated through networks or cell, phones or whatever that make the communication different and can affect the art in really interesting ways. So I think that's what one has to do, is just use your creativity and, figure something out.
Yeah, that's an amazing
Oh,
message.
I have a story
Go ahead.
about smell-o-vision, which is not a good idea. So there was this composer in Nice, and he went to the Amazon and he wrote music about the Amazon, and then he hooked up with this chemist, and he was put in charge of creating aerosol sprayers that was allegedly the smells of the Amazon. So they sent us these beakers and these chemicals, and we mixed them up, and the atomizers were controlled by them when it was sprayed as the music went forward. And it stunk so bad, people had to leave the building, and we had to shut them off and just listen to the music.
I have thought, it's kind of based on Tom's in a way, whenever, we're dealing with technology and we're thinking about technology, and there's always, as he said, going to be some kind of limitation as you're learning it. There's a lot of talk about AI, and so as we're thinking about AI, I think about it as a tool. How do we innovate there? How do we have a voice there? How can we use it in interesting, creative, artful ways? I think as artists and creators, we need to keep going, keep trying, and keep pushing, and keep innovating, try different things. So keep leaning into it.
Some people say that AI is the last invention that humans will ever make.
Some people say that. Don't believe it. But I understand. Let's talk in 10 years. And we'll see if you're right.
Yeah, hopefully.
iBot, contact your bot. There might be one other direction that has to do more with gaming, and that is avatars. And there's many multiplayer games that people can play together as avatars and avatar musicians. I could see that being a direction that will be developed, because there's already a lot of optimization, for, multiplayer games online. And that could be a way of many people participating together to create something. There's also, you mentioned AI, but there's the visual AI, there's the musical AI, and certainly, my experience with the musical AI in real time has not been great, but visually, I found that it's pretty good. So I think that'll come on more and more as we go along. But it seems that musically, it's a little bit harder to do, especially in real time. So anyway, my deal.
Yeah, can I throw one thought it just occurred to me. One big difference, I think, is with today's collaboration is a lot of us sit alone in front of our machine and communicate, right? And you saw in these videos how crazy collaborative it was in the location. Kit and Sherry made the electronic cafe, not that you would sit alone in a phone booth, but you would be with other people in that space connecting to another space. So that to me is a huge difference in what we're doing today, and perhaps there's something there to explore again of,
It's interesting because places like the metaverse and all of those things are trying to take like that idea of avatar, your own avatar, to create and bridge these gaps, even though you're not there, to have a sense of connection. So it's interesting to see those places that are being tried. I don't think we're there yet to have that kind of feeling that we're actually there and having the true human experience, but no, there's a lot of work being done in these areas.
And on this note, I guess we can pass to the Q&A. So anyone in person or joining virtually, feel free to either type in the chat or to just speak up.
Why don't you come, and then we can just come sit here, that way they can see you.
Oh, they see like who is in the audience.
Anna?
Yeah, if you're gonna talk, then come in
I
the
just
audience,
wanted-
come up here.
I think it's just a quick, oh, yeah, they need to hear. It's just a quick question, if you could also go back through the dates, like the first time you did it, and then when it started to become a musical collaboration, etc. Just, we weren't hearing the dates on our side, if that could just be a summary, please? Thanks.
You, Anastasia?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on the spot. Yeah, I just didn't think it's an important part of it. Okay, so Electronic Cafe International, and Kit may correct me, but it started just as Electronic Cafe and then became later international in late 80s with the funding, I think, coming from LACMA, and around that time it moved to Santa Monica from the East LA, and there were a few other locations. So that's the background to Electronic Cafe. And then around 1990, Martin Subotnik, like in 80s, he had experience at IRCAM. He was at IRCAM as a visiting composer, and he met Todd Machover there, and Todd Machover is known, he was like a participant of those cyber arts conferences, you could see the book there. Known for his performance with the Media Glow and as a kind of this edgy guy, and he became a part of the IRCAM of the MIT Media Lab. So there was kind of, I don't know, ideas, exchange, inspiration coming from there. And with, I guess, Rosenbaum coming as a dean with a call from Subotnik in 1990, they could be like this powerful alliance, union of people, and push forward the ideas of like radical interdisciplinarity, because back before 90s, scholars were still as kind of this alternative to conservatory. So yes, in 1990 or 91, we couldn't figure out who first came to Electronic Cafe International and kind of spread the knowledge, because CalArts is like in Valencia, and that's pretty far in Santa Monica. So someone had to be like living in LA and knowing the scene and so forth. So maybe that was Mark, Dawn, maybe that was Becky, whoever came first.
I thought that was Mort. I thought Mort was the one that came down and met with Kit and Sherry in 90. And that's, I think when it started, he was also working at a school and teaching computer music. So I think that's the case, that's what I remember.
Yeah. Well, Mark and Ron showed up first.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Couple of years first.
Oh, maybe and they told Mort, and then that's how that kind of happened.
That's how it happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, also we have a lineage, we did the Satellite Arts Project in 1977, the Images Place. That's the first time that ever happened. And then we did Hold Space and Electronic Cafe 84. And then we said we reached the limits of models. We've been building these big ass things, and then we have to tear them down. So we said we're just going to launch and keep on rocking.
So Baker referred to more teaching at schools. That was the Crossroads School, and basically there are video recording as well on YouTube. They called it Open School, and so the trio of Subotnik, Rosenbaum, and Coniglio, who was a kind of assistant or the tech wizard behind kind of many of the projects of Morgan and David Rosenbaum, they did those
things working.
Yeah. So they did those open lessons for kids, teaching them to use the compositional software, and Rosenblum had HMSL as a compositional software, and Mark Caniglio and Morten Sobotnik developed Interactor, so there were 2 products to test. From 91 to about 93, there was like this CEAIT series, and KIT is maintaining the website, kind of the timeline for Electronic Cafe International. So there's a timeline with like the dates for performances. So that went on for a few years, and the funding of the CEAIT came from AT&T and Peter Norton Foundation, and also Yamaha gave their disc claviers pretty much for free for the performance. And disc clavier, for the context, that's the computer as piano, which could be controlled remotely, and the piano, one piano may be like in one location on one coast, another on the other coast, and a person sitting in Santa Monica may play piano in New York. And that in the 1990s. And from 94 to 96, there were 3 major teleconcerts. And that was supposed to continue, but because the teleconcerts, they lasted for 1 day in 94, 95. 95 was the 2 evenings with brainwaves or brainwave performance. That's the one that Tom referred to, talking about Alvin Lucier. And in 96, it grew to lasting 3 days. It brought many people like Carol Stone and so forth. And then it kind of flopped, and there may be personal or whatever circumstances for this thing not continuing. But yeah, and then the kind of another chapter started with the CEAIT festival, already started by Clay Chaplin, so kind of its legacy partially continued. I hope this gives a sense of the timeline. And the CEAIT festival lasted from 97 to 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, could be. Other questions?
I love how you mentioned the interactive dimension of the electronic cafe.
In here.
You have to go up there.
Oh,
Go around.
just come up and then
Go around. See us from the audience, no?
the microphone on this side.
Yeah, but I couldn't type.
I love the interactive dimension of the electronic cafe, and how people are able to use the space to do different performances and collaborate with each other. What was unclear to me was where they were broadcasting to, and whether those other people were able to, I don't know, share their own performances, and how they scheduled events maybe. Can you tell me more about the organizational process, the logistics kind of, and yeah, just bring that to life a little bit more outside of the video that we saw.
Thank you.
Well, just it's just send people to our mothball website. You know, lists a lot of stuff. That's only 10% of what we did. I mean, we were doing. We didn't have time to keep. We didn't have anybody to just keep posting on the website. So, but it gives us a kind of a, you know, good idea of what was going on. But I'm not sure what the question was really. How did it work? I don't know.
I mean, you wanted sort of a little perspective on what actually happened, right?
Right. Who
I
they
think,
were broadcasting to, whether
yeah.
they were broadcasting
So I think,
back.
so in that 94 concert, we're 3 cities, Kitchen in New York, Studio X in Santa Fe, and then Santa Monica. And then, I forget exactly, I think so, typical things would be a piano duo in 2 cities. And so, person playing here, remote controlling a piano there, that they could hear, person there reacting to what they're hearing, playing their piano, that was then played back with another piano. So every location had 2 pianos, one played by a ghost who's in the other person and the other there.
But how did the other location know?
We did get a piano. Of course, they didn't want to haul it down and haul it back for each each event, so, and Ward was handing them out like candy anyway, because they were all, you know. So we ended up with one.
Sorry, ask that question again.
How did the other location know to go there? You know, you didn't have a.
Oh, so yeah, so we had those two pianos. Then there was also at least one big picture telephone, so a thing like this size, so we could see the other location. We could, of course, hear each other. So there would be one host. I forget, it was probably more to that time, sort of just guiding both locations through this, and then throw focus to the other city for their
but to
event.
her question, the scheduling issue. Because you
coordinated.
Yeah. Did you have to put it in magazines to print, like go to this location, or how did you tell an audience to be there at the other side?
Oh yeah, in fact I have the whole mailers here, so we were just
Oh,
doing
it was
typical
mailers.
mail out. Yeah, it would be guest lists.
Public performances, so that the public is also.
Yeah, I think that. Well, I mean, we made publicity at CalArts, at I don't know what press there was. I'm sure there was something. We also we set out mailers to.
We started a database and would send it out.
Yeah.
I mean, at the early days, that's kind of how we did it too.
So
did any of you attend other electronic cafe events other than the Morton David show?
I mean, I did the class and we had stuff in there, but I don't know if anybody else did.
I was at a performance of Harvest Works that I think was with the Electronic Cafe, but I was in New York at the time.
New York End?
Yeah, I was at New York End and noticing that none of the musicians were talking to each other between each space. And it came off.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just visiting and suddenly I was on the tech crew trying to solve problems.
Was that at Viacom or what? Or the kitchen? The kitchen, probably.
I think it was at Harvest Works, the open studio in New York City.
Yeah, we hooked up with the New York Poets Cafe and all kinds of stuff. I have a little story. Where is it here? Graham Smith was at the McLuhan Center. We were hooked up with them. And he would build little towns, and with a touch phone and a full motion video, we would drive these little cars so we were going to be at SIGGRAPH one year, 92. So we had him to build a robot with a television screen face. And we were in Las Vegas and we had our full motion video and stuff, but other people did too. And it was called Senator Probot Goes to Washington. And he landed in the hotel, what's the name, the famous hotel across from the White House. So he arrived with all of his gear, the robot and the directional antennas and all that kind of stuff to hook the room up to the network. And after the next morning, they were putting these antennas out the window, and all this stuff, and all of a sudden there's a knock on the door, and it's the police, it's the White House people, National Guard and dogs, and they said they thought we were pointing weapons at the White House. So they all came in, and then they said, well, this is what we're doing. Woman's going to walk up and down the street and ask people, can you give me directions to the super information highway? And so they contacted us at Vegas, and they all chilled out, and it all worked. But woman's going down the street, we're driving it, our faces are on it, and the New York poets are doing poetry on the street with this thing, and then it's wild. You had to be there.
Any other more questions? We have about 10 minutes. Yeah.
You're talking about the technology. There are technologies in the video that we saw, and I wasn't always sure what was. So, for example, the dancers that were superimposed in each other.
Can they talk to the mic?
Oh, right.
Thank you.
The mic is our friend.
Yeah. I'll just sit. I'm just going to sit. Hi. So I was just wondering about the different kinds of technology that we saw in that video, and the one that occurred to me most would be the two dancers who were, and I think there are actually a couple examples of this, where they were superimposed on each other, and what was actually happening there, clearly using the latency to good effect, I think. But what was the idea behind that? What was the technology that sort of live comping that was going on? I'm just curious.
Well, in the beginning, when Mark and Don showed up, you know, we didn't have the full motion video yet, but eventually, Alon would be in New York. She moved to New York. And so there were events that we did, and what we did was take our transmission of Dawn and the transmission coming from Alon, and we would mix them together and create not a split screen, but a composite image space, so they were both doing what they were doing and had been doing for a while. It's just mixing two live, video feeds.
Yeah, but sort of developing that question of superimposing image and learning how to interact with another performer who is not there. Could you just tell more why it's like something special? I mean, because not many people are practicing today again with this handy technology of how to put one another in seemingly the same space using this superimposing.
Well, you could use keying too, where the bodies would be more solid, but we love the mix, people smearing themselves together. But we were doing that in the Satellite Arts Project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be great if you could tell a bit more. I remember that Chris Pellison, she wrote quite a bit about this kind of third space or space in between that has been created this way, and she took a phenomenological perspective on, again, how people are interacting, what is the sense of intimacy between one another. So could you just tell a little bit more about this practice?
Well, Mark and Don, Alon and Don, actually with the picture tell, Alon in New York, they actually worked out the choreography they were going to do for an event with a Viacom. So they spent a couple of days working out their choreography. And then all we had to do was take the video from New York and our local video and put it in a mixer, and voila, there they are superimposed together. It's no magic.
Another modern manifestation of the benefit of the superimposing is in sports now. They'll take an athlete who wants to improve their performance doing a golf swing, a tennis swing, or going down the diving board and doing a dive, and they'll superimpose the world champion doing the same movement on them. And so they can see where they're lacking and what their goal is.
With the media dance, it's Don was with us, but left a bit earlier. So the movement of dancers, it controlled like the sonic output. So it was kind of scenification of bodily movement. So I mean, there was a suit that passed the media data to whatever they were using, synthesizers, or piano. So they were using MIDI phone for sure, MIDI suits, picture phones. I mean, I'm not aware of to speak about the entire setup, but that was kind of the main components.
I'll throw one more component, which also is, I think, used by a few pieces. Since we didn't have the bandwidth to pump through good audio, let alone video, so often it would also be having a Laserdisc player there that we could jump to, that we could control. So the MIDI dancer, Don's MIDI suit could just you know, go to that frame and tell the laser display, or now play that. And so when she, so that when a gesture would happen, then the big video eye opens up or something like that. So for the device.
I noticed that you have the touch and feel video in your collection.
Yeah.
That's when we did a thing for big money givers had a hoedown at a Catholic retreat, and we were invited to come and do some stuff. But the woman and her friends in one building, and the guy and his friends in another, and we did the composite image space. And so they started touching each other and then rubbing each other and then kind of having dry sex with each other. And it was pretty amazing. And then when she came back to the building, when they came back and all joined, they hugged each other. They knew each other a hell of a lot better than they did before.
What about the one with the instruments? You asked about the technology. The drums and the guitar,
yeah,
touch, kind of like.
So she, do you want to repeat?
Was activated.
Yeah, so there is a question, but I guess this kid didn't recall. I didn't recognize the performance either. The last one, I think, with the video changing and the sound being controlled by the dancer. I'm not sure who that was, but the question about this fragment, what is going on actually technology-wise?
The virtual instruments, right, where the dancers hit the bells and play the bongos and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that was not part of the teleconcerts for sure, but kids, can you talk to that one?
What's the clip? Well, let me just say stuff. Ken Leary was at the 84 Cafe, and he came to our place a lot. And you couldn't get visas when you got invitations to go to some countries. They wouldn't give them the visas, so we would beam them into Canada or whatever. And we put those instruments in the screen with him, and he was playing it and stuff like that. So yeah, he was a big fan.
And what was the technology there?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see. So we went to Barcelona in 91 or something like that, and there was a big gathering there for cyber, party technology things. And we followed Laurie Anderson. She was first, and then Kit and Sherry walked out there, and we thought, oh God, how can we follow this? But so we did our spiel, and we gave Larry the keys to the Electronic Cafe in Santa Monica. We're in Barcelona, and we set up a phone. We had a table, and we're talking, and the phone rings, and we pick up and say, who's this? Oh, okay, well, send us a picture. So then Timothy Leary's picture comes up on a big screen behind us, and everybody just freaks out. You had to be there.
Any last question, or maybe any of the panelists would like to say a final, whatever, word, or something to be continued?
Just thank you, Anastasia, for all of your great work in bringing this all together, and creating this kind of continuum, because there's lots of different fragments, and so I found it very illuminating as well. And so thank you, and thank all the other panelists, and thank you, Kit, because what you guys were doing was incredible, and I just want to thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Now what am I going to do with these archives?
Well, Stanford is on board to help.
There's public storages around here filled with all of this stuff. It's like a mountain.
And in there,
Yeah.
somewhere. Okay,
My
so.
Howard's going to be visiting in a couple of days.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So, I guess, thank you all.
Look, because it's more than just us. It's very socio-political, hard-hitting, critical stuff. And get a dictionary. You know, we're going to need a dictionary. Very academic, so academic it makes your teeth ache.
Round of applause. Yeah.